I must apologize for saying that hasty, but I was running out of space on my recorder and I didn't want to end up wasting it. Genesis chapter 30, verse 25. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, Send me away, that I may go into my own place and to my country. Notes, the phrase, For whom I have served you, and let me go, proves that both Leah and Rachel became his wives immediately, and then he served the 14 years for them. Right there it is, verse 26. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go. For you know my service which I have done to you. And Laban said to him, I pray you, if I have found favor in your eyes, tarry. For I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for your sake. Notes, and big notes at that. Laban did not really actually serve the Lord. However, he did know that Jehovah was real and that the blessings of God were definitely upon Jacob. So, for material benefits alone, he desires that the patriarch remain with him as long as possible. We should learn a lesson from all of this. The blessings of the Lord upon any individual will fall out as well on those around such a person. Verse 28. And he who is Laban said, Appoint me your wages, and I will give it. And he who is Jacob said unto him, You know how I have served you, and how your cattle was with me. For it was little which you had before I came, and it is now increased unto a multitude. And the Lord has blessed you since my coming. And now when shall I provide for my own house also? And he who was Laban said, What shall I give you? And Jacob said, You shall not give me anything. If you will do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep your flock. I will pass through all your flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and the speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. Verse 33. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come. Notes, in other words, he's saying that God is going to bless him. Scripture, When it shall come for my hire before your face, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. Notes, in other words, all that are speckled, spotted, or brown shall be mine. Verse 34. And Laban said, Behold, I would it might be according to your word. Notes, now some would criticize Jacob as it regards this particular agreement. They have attributed such to devious ways, trickery, and even dishonesty. However, it would appear that he acted honestly. The Lord will never bless sin and dishonesty, or even the slightest hint of wickedness. So if the Lord is involved, and he definitely was, we must conclude that the acts, whatever they may have been, were actually on the up and up. Verse 35. And he removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them unto the hand of his sons, which is actually Jacob's sons. Verse 36. And he who was Laban set 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob, and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Notes. Laban required that there should be an interval of between 30 and 40 miles between himself, that is, his flocks, and those of Jacob. His wealth in sheep and goats must have been absolutely enormous to require so large a separate feeding ground. All of this we learned from verse 30 and had been the result of Jacob's care. He did a really good job. Verse 37. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of the hazel and chestnut tree, and peeled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. Notes. Whenever Jacob proposed his plan, which would give him all of the spotted and mingled sheep and goats, Laban reasoned, and rightly so, under normal circumstances, that the number of animals falling into this category would be small indeed. Now, the Lord told Jacob what to do in this situation. It is said to have been frequently observed that, particularly in the case of sheep, whatever fixes their attention in copulation is marked upon the young. However, it will be safer to ascribe this to divine blessing than to human craft. Verse 38. And he set the rods which he had pilled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive whenever they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring-straked, and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flock by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. Notes. Now, the term cattle, as used in the Old Testament, can refer to almost just about any kind of animal, such as a lamb, a goat, or a cow of any kind. In the passages of our study, it seems to refer to just about, everything. Verse 41. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in, so the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And the man who was Jacob increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and men servants, and camels, and asses. Notes. We must conclude that the proposal of such a singular condition on the part of Jacob was an act, not of folly, but actually of faith, being tantamount to a committal of his cause to God instead of Laban. The acceptance of the agreement on the part of Laban was a display of greed, and a proof that the bygone years of prosperity had only increased that greed. Increase in the best sense is God's promise. It will be sent as He wills and when He wills, but will be found the true answer to prayer and the true manifestation of love. On all that belongs to us, the blessing rests. And we're now at chapter 31, and we're about to have some problems with some jealousy. And he who was Jacob heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and of that which our father's has he gotten all his glory. Notes. As long as Jacob was increasing the wealth of Laban, and Jacob remained poor, Laban had no problems. But once Jacob begins to prosper and begins to do so in a grand way, this actually creates jealousy and contention. Verse 2. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. We've got some jealousy right there. And we'll have to continue in Genesis chapter 31, verse 2. Thank you for